So hi everybody. Um, Hello Fabian. Long time no see.
Hi
Yeah.
again.
So yeah, last time we talked was well, we always keep in touch, but yes, last time we talked was a long time ago. So it would just be a very ordinary conversation between two people, and today I just want to cover the topic of um, how to develop the mind, especially the attitudes, because I talk to many friends who isn't Buddhist or Buddhist, and their approach to their mind is quite hard. So in a sense, they're very harsh to themselves. Um, Particularly, they have this people have this attitude of conquering the mind. But
I know that one.
yeah, we all try, I tried. But then you realize it doesn't work. So I want to tell a story about, if you want to train your mind, it's like training a wild elephant, right? So in Asia, when they capture a wild elephant, they put it with um, tame, domesticated elephants, and and it'll slowly calm the elephant, the wild ones. But not only that, the people need to be kind to it, to be gentle to it, and feed it, and treat it with care. Um, Only after a while, when the elephant calmed down, do they start training it, right?
Mhm.
So we train our mind the same, right? We don't hold a whip. First, we need to associate with like-minded people, the people that we aspired to, and we hang around with them. And then we have to be kind to ourselves, right? Um, and what does kind to ourselves mean? Um, so to understand that, we have to have different perspective of ourselves. We are this whole organism. So we have the body, we have the feeling, the emotions, we have the thinking aspects, we have the consciousness, but we also have connections. So, um, so to be kind to ourselves, meaning treat ourselves well and feed ourselves with wholesome food, right? Indulgent in sense desire isn't really kind to ourselves. It seems like kind because we gain pleasure from it and we feel good. But in the long term, it's actually just arouse us more and make us more hyper, just like junk food does.
That's right. It seems to be nice, but it's like with if someone goes fishing, and you're basically the fish, and you see the bait, and you don't see what's under it. The hook, which actually gets you hooked on this sort of desire. And in the first place, it seems to be nice,
Mm,
and it tastes good, but there's something hidden behind it.
mm, yeah. So, and so developing the minds have many benefits, right? So we all talk about healing. We all talk about in terms of healing traumas, in terms of woundings. We talk about thinking aspect, the clarity. We're talking about the focus ability of the mind. We talk about special powers. Um, so we can't really like, let's be kind to ourselves, let's be with the right people for how many years and then start training, right? So we do all of that a little bit at a time to our ability and at our own pace. That's the thing, at our own pace, we know, because part of training the mind is also self-awareness. So there's so many aspects to talk about, but so I'll
Yes.
yeah, so I'll leave it there and then open up for questions. Um, yeah, so do you have anything to ask regarding this?
Like I have many questions, but like beforehand, I so that's been the story of the wild elephant already, right? Like when it is out in the jungle, when it's totally bewildered, and basically that is associated with the mind, which is basically in the wild, not going wherever it wants, and totally not being tame. And what we are trying in developing the mind is to basically domesticate it so that it is for a use of
Mm,
us, right?
mm.
Uh, so that's been the story, wasn't it? Or is there anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, so basically just because it's a quick one, yeah, just basically that. Um, but another aspect to the wild elephant is it's important to anchor it, right? So
Mm.
you, even if you put the elephant with the tame elephant, you don't just let it free. You still need to tie it down into a pose. And the same, our scattered mind, our white, our noisy mind, that's the wild elephant. That's the wild aspect of our mind, untrained. And to tie it to a pose, we use the four frames of mindfulness. And that is tying and anchoring the mind into the present and
Mhm.
not let it scattered or run wild.
Okay, so yeah, I have a question to that. So you say also that it is a very important point that we basically also join with the right people, right? So basically, when one is like totally untrained and being a wild elephant. So what we do is to put him into a cage or like I don't know, a field where already some tame elephants are basically there, so that wild elephant can learn. Okay, they are happy this way. They are calm. That they're not being restless. And that's conducive to my sort of welfare. So you're saying it's very important to also associate with, say, the right people who are aspiring towards the calm mind and cultivating the mind?
Well, it depends what you want to cultivate. You might be an artist and you want to cultivate that kind of mindset. So you hang around with artists. You want to cultivate a scientific mind, you hang around with scientific people. You want to have a very peaceful and calm mind. You find people in nature and that have that aspect that inspired you. um, Say monks, nuns, say meditators, and you hang around with them. So it's depending on
Mhm.
what you want to develop.
So that would be your anchor. So as we're talking about cultivating the mind, say I would say to a more not creative approach, but more like a spiritual approach, like and anchoring it means also to surround um, with the right people, isn't it?
Yeah, so the right people um, would inspire you to the potential of what that developed mind look like
Hmm.
in real life. What is its benefits? What is its impacts? Um, the pro of it. So that would give you the inspiration, because this is hard work. You got to understand, and it's very slow, because to unlearn habits and to redefine perceptions and to update beliefs and all, and throw out all the old one, then it's very hard. It's actually challenging yourself. So
Hmm.
you need inspiration. You need, what does it look like when I am there or on the path to there? What are
Hmm.
the fruits?
That's right. So basically, with this wild elephant, like in the moment when it is basically getting domesticated, it doesn't feel happy, does it? So
Mm,
it's not a happy elephant if it's like surrounding like all of a sudden with calm people. So because the habits don't stop, the say
mm,
that the mind patterns don't stop, the whatever that wild elephant did before, he cannot do anymore, right? So
mm,
that it's not giving say it's not motivational for the wild elephant to say, okay, it's better to be domesticated,
mm.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually pretty much the same with all kind of training, right? If you look at an athlete, you look at bodybuilders, you look at learning an instrument, you look at getting a degree. You have to put in the hard yard, and while you put in the hard yard, there's hardly any reward at all, but just very painful training and hard work. So the same thing, developing the mind is the same thing. It's hard work in the beginning, and it seems like a lot of suffering with very little reward. But I'm telling you, yeah, lots of reward.
Okay, so yeah, that actually covers like sort of the first question, what I wrote down already. If I might go into that now. Uh, so I was like writing down, why should we develop or cultivate the mind? Like you already gave part of the answer, and so that there's lots of benefits. And for me, as a Westerner, it's always important to know before I do something. You know, what's the reward? What's the outcome? So why should I do it? So not out of blind faith, but like
Mm,
actually something you have a goal to and aspire for. So
mm,
yeah,
mm.
just asking
Um,
you that. What are the benefits?
well, there's many, right? When you start and you learn the techniques, for example, mindfulness, bringing your mind to the present and know how to anchor in the present. Every time you do that, you momentarily interrupts your mind process, the loops, the habits that you're in. So in that instant of bringing your awareness back to the present, you already, one, interrupt the momentum of that ingrained pattern. Number two, you have, um, however minutes that you're in the present is how much time there is of peace and contentment. Mm? So that is an
Mhm.
instant benefits already. And as you develop this way, you'll be good at it, right? We'll be studying ourselves. And in studying ourselves, we automatically become the observer, because you can't study something and be in it, right? In order to study something, you got to watch it, right? So the same
Mhm.
thing with ourselves, right? When we start studying ourselves, when we keep bringing ourselves back to the present, we start to notice things. We start to notice the reality. We start to notice the reality of our inner psyche, our mechanism, what
Mhm.
button, what trigger us. So, and then eventually we become very good watcher or very good observer.
So it's also good for actually, if you practice schooling your mind in a way or training your mind, it's also good for the people around you, right? Because like if someone is triggering you via words or like you experience something throughout your senses and you're disliking it and you're totally reacting onto it, so that actually harms other people in a way too, right? So that
Yeah.
gives talks or conversations or being together a totally different spice than just watching actually what's inside, what's happening inside of you, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So we give more pauses and we give more silence when we choose to respond and not react. So there's
Hmm.
lots of listening, lots of empathy, lots of understanding. Not lots, but the beginning of understanding, and yeah, just slowing things down.
Hmm.
Um,
So those are the benefits, like so basically more diving into the piece or being more like you know yourself better, which is always good, and it's also good for the people around you. So
mm.
is there another thing to add when it comes to the, say, benefits of cultivating and training the mind? Is there something deeper than that?
So as we train this way, we become more present, right? And we less entangled in our emotions, less entangled in our bias, belief system, and thinking.
Mhm.
Um, we become more objective observer, not just to ourselves, but with people. Uh, Another benefit is that we start to purify, right? Because we create less mud. We 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 create less entanglement because we're able to pause, slow down, and respond in a rational way. So in you can say creating less negative karma, so to speak. In
Mhm.
terms of purification, um, when we are in the present, another techniques of bringing ourselves to the present is to scan. You know how to do the scanning our body from top to
Uh,
bottom?
yeah, yeah. I heard from it. Maybe not everyone.
Yeah, so basically you just imagine that there is a laser scanning from the top of your head and it goes slowly, slowly. And as it goes, you relax all your muscles. And that would bring ourselves to the present straight away because we are focusing in the body. And when we do that, um, when when that act as relieving all the tension, because
Mhm.
sometimes we the body reacts to stress first faster than we detect ourselves. For
Yeah.
example, our tummy, our jaw, our heartbeat, it start to increase and tighten. So when we bring back our awareness back to the present and you scan the body, you realize, oh, I'm tightening up here. I'm tightening my jaw. So you start to relax. And when you relax, you allow the energy or whatever that is you're going through to be purged and released without tampering on it or without making stories of it.
That's right. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect you just pointed out. Like, for instance, if I do and go and sit down on my meditation cushion, and I'm say trying to focus the breath, and then actually the body is a very good say a map actually where you can orientate yourself. How is your practice actually going, and are you doing it rightly or not? Because like, if I do the scanning, then or become aware, how am I actually watching the mind? So and I see then if there's tension in the jaw, and I'm like like really wanting it, being quite strict and austere. So then I'm watching it with a very say tense way, so actually it's not relaxing. So that's actually a very good thing you pointed out, that the body is not only an anchor, it is actually a map where you can orientate.
That's right. There's lots of evidence now that the trauma or any experience that we've been through is actually stored in our body. So
Hmm.
when we have all this tension and eventually uh, diseases or illness, physical illness, it is an actual um, memory of the mind that we went through, that we didn't process or didn't release. So
Hmm.
that's very interesting, and it's quite recent facts, but we are acknowledging it now.
I have, yeah, better later than never.
Mm. So developing the mind in the techniques, we will go way more into detail about later in more uh, YouTubes. Um, then we will cover those hints and tips and
Yes, that's right. So that's more a broad talk about actually developing the mind and everything
mm,
around it, rather than
mm,
specific on a method.
mm,
On this, yeah.
yeah.
So before you said something about like we all have to do it with by our own pace. So I'm asking myself, like, everyone is of course different, and sort of what do you mean with our own pace? Like it's like with, for me, it's like holding an egg, right? Like if you're holding a raw egg and you press too hard, of course it splatters, and then it's gone. And if you hold it too loose, the egg drops down. But for everyone is sort of different, as everyone has different strength capacities, so to speak. So when do I know what is the right pace and what is not? Can I challenge my mind more, or should I be more easy on that? So how do I get the feeling of how am I doing it rightly?
So everybody can be our teachers, not only the masters, but life situation. But the most important teacher is ourselves, right? Our process is our teacher. So if you sit there, remember I said the attitude to developing our mind is kindness and gentleness, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
if you sit there and you're in such a pain, then in order to be kind to yourself, what do you do?
Well, there's several ways, right? I could send kindness towards it, just like just sending with the mind, like may you be at ease, may you be free from pain. So I go with the as Buddhists call it metta, or loving kindness. But I could also just stand up and do, for instance, like walking meditation, or I could also just accept it, just saying, okay, this is pain, and so that would be immediate things which come up, like three different ways for that's in my toolbox, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. So you take your tools out and you try one after the other to see which one work.
Mhm.
Um, what worked today might not work tomorrow. What worked for one person doesn't work for the other. So it's come back to self-awareness and come back to kind and gentle attitudes. And that is your pace. your individual pace.
Mhm. Okay, yeah. So actually, you can also compare the mind, which is, well, of course, we compared it before to a wild elephant, but we could also like bring up the example of a piece of wood, right? A piece of wood, in its natural, say, way, which is sort of wild, it is actually not of use for anyone, so to speak. Like so we use, as a carpenter, we use tools to basically make something out of the mind, right? But like you cannot go and say, you use whatever sandpaper when the bark is still on, right? So that wouldn't be of much use. So right, you have certain tools like going from sort of step by step into the more, say, refined
Mm.
way of treating the mind, isn't it?
Yes, but having the tools, learning about the techniques and the tools, and when to use it, that's the tricky part. Like when do I use what tools? Like you
Yeah,
say, yeah. So that's also part of the learning process. That's why it's so hard and so long, because there is uh, so much habits and yeah, we would deal with all these programs. So I think we got 10
10
minutes.
minutes. 10 minutes. It just popped up. Actually, there's tons of more questions. But like just by what we said, I just covered one of what I wrote down actually. So you say basically there's some benefits towards cultivating the mind. It does stop patterns. It brings us more into the present moment. And so what you're saying also is that it purifies ourselves. And basically what you can say is that it puts you into a different reality. So your life actually becomes different. So if a person is not satisfied with the way, or discontent with the way life works, it's actually kind of like a silver lining on the horizon to say that actually there is something like a different reality a person can attain to, right?
Definitely, very definitely. In order to change your reality, you got to shift your perception. And shifting is about clarity. It's yeah, we're going to deal with that also. Um, so so this is uh, we're going to continue on, because it only give us, say, I think 40 minutes.
That's
um,
right.
uh, so yeah, I think it will, we just let our conversation be organic, and then we'll just go into different directions. So maybe next time um, I'll talk about how to anchor the mind. Or what would you like to talk about? There's so many things I want to talk about, like the sense
Yeah,
of cells
too.
and
No, actually, how do we do it is actually a good way. Like, what's the approach, and the how to and when to, so to speak. I mean, I have tons of questions myself. So yeah, 40 minutes won't really do it. But like if and if there's anyone like out there like watching this video and then like thinks of a very important topic, which basically is, yeah, relevant for that person, it can always be free to like write down a comment and question, and yeah, we sort of line it up onto the queue.
definitely, definitely. If we can have questions, then we'll try to address it as much as we can. Okay, thank you for joining me, Fabian. I'm Kishan, and I'll see you next time about extending, furthering this conversation into the how of developing the mind.
Yeah, so we covered basically the why, a why of covering the mind.
The incentive.
of developing my yes, and now we're sort of going a bit deeper into it.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, beautiful. So
Okay.
yeah, see you next time. I'm glad we talked, and I hope it will be of a great benefit for all people watching it, and it might wake their interest in sort of approaching the life in a different way.
Mm. Okay, I'll see you in a
Yeah.
bit. Bye.
See you. Bye.
So I